Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the World of Sports podcast. It's been a little while, but I wanted to come back and talk a little bit about NBA free agency. A lot of stuff went down, a lot of deals, a lot of madness going on in the NBA. Um, Pretty crazy that the Warriors won. Congrats to them. Also, prediction came through with the Avalanche for the NHL, so free agency video coming out on that soon, but I'm happy that my preseason prediction came through, so let's ride. But anyways, let's get into the video. So a lot to discuss here. First, I think we should start off with Bradley Beal of my Washington Wizards re-signing. In my honest opinion, this is kind of a lose-lose for the Wizards. I love Bradley Beal. He's a great player. I love how loyal he is. And I tweeted out like Beal needs to be appreciated for the loyalty that he shows in a league that has no loyalty at all. Where I think, yeah, it's fair to criticize the Wizards and Beal for re-signing with the team that doesn't have a ton of history winning, but in the end, we need loyalty in this sport, and we don't have that. And so I think that we kind of need to just sit back and kind of look at that and be like, all right, like, yeah, the Wizards aren't the greatest team. Same with the Fox, same with the Kings and De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox resigns with them, like, that was a while back, but still, like, we got to appreciate these players for re-signing with their teams that they've been drafted by and showing loyalty, because that's kind of how it's supposed to be, in my opinion, at least. So that's one thing, but like I said, I think it's kind of a lose-lose for the Wizards because, if you don't re-sign Beal, then, you lose your best player and you lose your chance of making the playoffs and, having a good team remotely, I guess. And you lose your star player who's been kind of the face of your franchise, I guess, for the past like 4 years in, homegrown talent. And if you re-sign him, you're paying a guy who $50 million a year, who's not worth $50 million a year, and he's 29, and most guards like him that get the usage rate that he does now burn out at like 32, 33. We see this with Kyle Lowry, Damian Lillard, James Harden, Russell Westbrook. All these guys, they start losing a step because they're just used all the time. They're bringing the ball up the court always. They're playing every game. That takes a toll on your body, and we've seen with guys like Dame, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, you can't sustain the play that you've had when you were, an MVP in X season, right? Your play just declines. You're just not as good because of your usage rate and the injuries. Dame's gotten injured a lot. Harden's been in and out with that calf injury for a while. I don't think Russ has really gotten hurt, but it really takes a toll on your body being a point guard, and getting hit all the time, I guess. So it's kind of a lose-lose for the Wizards. As I discussed with a friend, the best case scenario, and again, this is there's like a 10% chance this happens, is that Beal turns the clock back and, he becomes a number one for a team, for a playoff team, and kind of goes back into that like top 20 Bradley Beal, like absolute superstar stud. And then Porzingis stays healthy the whole season. And the Wizards around that have like an okay team. And maybe they're a 4 or 5 seed, but in no way are they in shape to win a championship. They just don't have a good enough team. So they're kind of at that point where it's like, all right, like you're not, like your team's okay, but you're not good enough to win a championship, and you're kind of in this like frolicking, like, okay, if Bradley Beal or Porzingis gets hurt, we're probably gonna be like the 9 or 10 seed, and like maybe we'll make the play-in tournament, and if not, then we'll get the 10th pick in the lottery. So it's really, I don't know what I would have done in that situation. The smart thing is to rebuild, I think, and just embrace the OKC, Houston, just deal all your assets, get rid of all those, take some bad contracts, and rebuild it, and try to find that superstar, because right now the Wizards, you can't objectively look at me and say like, yeah, the Wizards could win the championship. The Wizards could win a championship. And that should be the goal. The goal shouldn't just be like, oh yeah, like we made it to the first round, we were the 8 or the 7 seed and got swept by the Celtics or the Sixers. Like that shouldn't or the Bucks. Like that shouldn't be the goal here. That the goal should be to win a championship and to have people say, "All right, the Wizards are a threat." They could potentially make a run here. No one's saying that. No one's saying that. What people are saying is, yeah, they could be a 7 or 8 seed. And the goal, that's not the goal. And that's what I think smart organizations understand. Um, and I don't know. So the smart thing to do was rebuild, and obviously that would suck as a Wizards fan going through another rebuild and kind of just years of being absolutely terrible, but kind of a mess. So I'm happy to have Beal back, but we're in no shape to win a championship. So we need to get another piece in order to win a championship, and maybe we could find that. But in order to do that, you're gonna have to give up a bunch of first-round picks, which I don't want to do. Also hated the Johnny Davis pick, but we'll talk about that later. Another big free agent signing, so we can just go over them. Jokic resigns for a lot of money. Morant resigns. Cat resigns. Zach LaVine, I believe, resigned with the Bulls. And then obviously another huge headline was Jalen Brunson going to the Knicks. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm not gonna just jump to the conclusion here, like what everyone is saying, and be like, oh well, that they got Jalen Brunson to be their best player, and like he's gonna supposedly lead them to the playoffs. Like, I really don't think that was the Knicks' plan to be like, all right, well, let's just go get Jalen Brunson, and he'll be our best player, and he's gonna be that guy that makes all those big shots, and like he's our guy. I don't really think that's the case. I just think that no NBA team would really think that. If they do think that, I'm kind of sorry for Knicks fans, because Jalen Brunson isn't gonna, lead you to the playoffs and do all this heroic stuff. One thing I did say about the Knicks was going into this season is the expectations were too high. In I believe it was 2020, I think whatever year they made the playoffs and they were the 5 seed, they had no business finishing that high. They just weren't that good, and they shouldn't have really made the playoffs that year. Their team wasn't great. Julius Randle caught lightning in a bottle and played really well. So then going into 2021, people are like, all right, well, we made the playoffs, and in 2020 we were the 5 seed. We lost in the first round, but hey, man, I mean, this is a new year. And then they signed Evan Fournier and someone else, like terrible additions. And of course, their team isn't that good, so they didn't make the playoffs. And people are like, oh, well, this is ridiculous. We didn't even make the playoffs. Well, yeah, because your team isn't very good. So obviously they add Brunson. I think there's another piece in coming here. A lot of people have been saying Donovan Mitchell. I just don't think the Knicks are like, all right, Jalen Brunson, we got him now. Now we can win a championship and compete in the playoffs. Like, I really, really doubt that. So, I like the fact that they brought in Jalen Brunson. I mean, he's a good player. Is he worth $25 million a year? I guess maybe, because we're seeing guys like Bradley Beal get paid $50 million a year. If a superstar is getting like $40 million a year and Jalen Brunson probably is a number 2, I guess, then yeah, 25 mil a year for him is like kind of fair, because that's like not a terrible cap hit, I guess. Evan Fournier got $20 million. Like, let's just, so look, I don't think it's that terrible of a contract, but they got to bring in somebody else. He can't be the guy. And yeah, so that's my opinion on Jalen Brunson. They got to bring in someone else. Maybe it's Donovan Mitchell. I don't think Donovan Mitchell's the number 1 on a team, though. So we'll see with that. And then we had some trades as well, so I guess we'll go over that later. But Gallinari gets bought out by the Spurs in the DeJounte Murray deal. He signs with Boston. So I like that for the Celtics. I'm trying to think if I'm missing any other like big free agency switches. Which I don't really think I am. I'll maybe go back and check. Lou Dort resigns with the OKC 5 years for $87 million. That was another one. And then yeah, the trades. So a few trades I want to talk about. So Malcolm Brogdon to the Celtics. I like this deal for both teams. I don't think Malcolm Brogdon really has any use of being on the Pacers anymore, in my honest opinion. They have Ben Mathurin, who's like kind of a guard. They have Halliburton, like he should just be your point guard. You don't need Malcolm Brogdon. Then they have Chris Duarte, who they also got in the draft last year, and he's like pretty solid. So I think he has absolutely no use of being on the Pacers. So I like this deal for Indiana. And some people were like, "Oh my God, like the Pacers got absolutely fleeced by the Celtics." I had Malcolm Brogdon on my fantasy team last year. He did not play any games. He got hurt all the time. So he doesn't play a ton. So that's why the Celtics only had to give up one first and Aaron Nesmith for him. So I like the deal for both teams. Brogdon's a nice addition when he plays for the Celtics. Will he be healthy the whole year? Definitely not. So yeah, good deal for both sides. Pacers also get a lot more reps for the young guys, Mathurin, Halbert, and Duarte, and playing time by trading Brogdon. So I like that a lot. Good move for them. Then interesting deal, the Kings trade for Kevin Huerter. I thought this was interesting. Like first off, I was really angry when the Kings took Jaden Ivey. Or Keegan Murray. I thought that Jaden Ivey was the better player. I still believe that. Keegan Murray's been great in Summer League, but it is Summer League. So I was really angry about that, but I do like that they're bringing in another shooter. They were really bad three-point shooting team last year. And I also can't remember if they traded Buddy Hield or not. I feel like they did. Or no, yeah, they traded Buddy Hield to in that Pacers trade. So yeah, they kind of needed a three-point shooter. So I like that a lot, honestly, for the Kings. Not a huge fan of Keegan Murray, but we can get into that later, I guess, in the draft recap. And then of course we got the Gobert trade. Let's talk about it. This is, my opinion's not different from anyone else's. It's an absolutely horrendous trade. I don't know why you'd give up basically 5 first-round picks. They gave up Walker Kessler, who was their first-round pick this year, and then 4 other first-round picks, 3 unprotected, for Rudy Gobert. I mean, like, Rudy Gobert's he's a really, 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 really good center. And I mean center. He's a good center. And he's like Moses Malone, kind of, just to put that in perspective. He rebounds really well, plays good defense. Can he play good perimeter defense? I don't really know. And the fact of the matter is, for me, 2 things. They're giving up all these picks, and they're paying him like $47 million in like 4 years. Like, they're giving him a huge amount of money for Rudy Gobert. And look, someone did provide the counter argument, which is no other free agents are going to sign with Memphis, which I guess is fair, but like, I don't know. Also, another concern. So one, they give up Pat Bev, they give up Malik Beasley, all these guys because they have to dump salary. I hated that because you're getting rid of the depth on your team. So they're going to have to just find depth to just replace those guys. Pat Bev is also just like, everyone loves him. Like, he was such an energy guy for them in the playoffs. I didn't like that they traded him. And then the other thing was, think about their lineup. They're going to have Towns and Gobert in the same lineup. That is going to be such a slow team. So I hate that too. I mean, Rudy Gobert just isn't worth basically 5 first-round picks. Like, that is just absurd. And I don't know how they were coerced into this offer. DeJounte Murray, think about this. The Spurs got 3 first-round picks and the Hawks were able to dump a bad contract in Gallinari's deal for DeJounte Murray. And this is DeJounte Murray. Like, why is Rudy Gobert getting that much money? He's like 30. He's like 33. I have to look up how old Rudy Gobert is, but he's like pretty old. Let's see. He's 30 years old. I don't get why just get DeAndre Ayton. Just pay DeAndre Ayton for a Suns sign and trade. They're literally the same player. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, that's the one aspect of it is like, if you want a center like that badly, who's a really good rim protector, who can finish, and is just a great, complete glass cleaning center, just get DeAndre Ayton and give up like 2 first-round picks. He's also like 5 years younger than Gobert. Awful deal. ridiculous, and Minnesota should really, really be ashamed of themselves. And I know they are, and I know they've been here getting it from everybody, and they deserve it. And then the DeJounte Murray deal, I have no idea how this is going to work out with Trae Young playing with DeJounte Murray. I thought it was a pretty fair trade for both sides. The Hawks get to dump that Gallinari deal, and then they give up 3 first-round picks. That kind of sucks. But they do get DeJounte Murray. It's a little risky. I think people are underestimating how risky it is. You have to remember, I think the Hawks were like the 8 or 9 seed in the East this year, and the East wasn't even that good. So like, you know, they're not like a proven like they're gonna make the playoffs and they'll be the 5 seed. Like this could still be a Hawks team that's like, you know, the 7 seed and loses and then gets a lottery pick and it's a high, you know, like I don't know. I don't like. That's why I also hate going back to the Gobert trade. I'm sorry. That's why I hate this trade so much. Is because Minnesota was like the 9 seed in the West this year, and the West is really good. And so let's say they miss the playoffs. Let's say Anthony Edwards gets hurt or Towns or somebody, and they miss the playoffs. These unprotected picks could be really, really high, and that's just not worth it. So that's all I'll say. I don't know how the DeJounte Murray and Trae Young combo is going to work out. I do know DeJounte Murray is an awesome player, really underrated, and I think he'll be able to adjust to whatever role possible. So I like that the Hawks added another like really, really solid player to their team, and that's what they needed, in all honesty. So good for them, and we'll see how it pans out. But that's going to be our free agency recap for now. I guess one more trade, Christian Wood to the Mavericks. I liked it for the Mavericks. Wood's a really flexible center, and is really dynamic with the ball, can shoot the 3, and definitely a good replacement for Dwight Powell because he just is not a starting center on a Western Conference team. So, Western Conference finalist team. Anyways, thanks guys for watching, and I'll come out with an NHL preview and probably more NBA stuff later.